Hello again, everyone. This is Bob, and today I'm going to be doing Youngblood number one, part two. So I've somehow managed to turn Youngblood number one into two different reviews, even though in reality we're getting two different comics. So today this one's going to be the away team, and I did the Youngblood number one yesterday for the home team, and the cover to that one is, I guess, the more recognized cover of Youngblood number one. If you do any searches online for Youngblood number one, that's usually the cover that you see. But I think that the cover for the away team is actually better than the other cover. I liked the other cover. I had no notes on that or anything. I thought it was a cool, cover showing off all of these heroes and everything. The other one somehow looks more intense. You've got people flying around and everything. I don't know. It looks like there's more action involved with this cover, and I like it. I think Sentinel looks pretty badass right there. Cougar looks kind of cool. Photon. I always liked the design of Photon, and it was wild because I remember when I read Youngblood at first, I was thinking that I don't know what the name of the alien race is that Photon's a part of, but I always thought those characters looked insanely cool, and I'm like, wow, Liefeld really, did a good job creating that character. I really like that. I wish he'd kind of focus on this character some more because he looks, the most interesting to me out of all of them. Then I found out that they were just ripoffs of some Marvel alien characters that already existed. Like, they look exactly the same. And I was just like, oh, I should have known. I can't believe that I was surprised and like a bit shocked that these were not like original characters. That they were again ripoffs from something else. So that was wild. But again, the cover here is pretty awesome. It still says first explosive issue on that side. And I gotta say another thing too. Like, this was the flip book. Youngblood number one. You got the home team and then you got the away team. I actually thought that was incredibly clever. Being able to flip the book on the other side, you got a separate issue of that comic on to look at. I thought that was pretty cool. No one else had ever did that I knew of. Now I'm saying that, but I just said that about Photon, and then I found out many years later that again, they were a ripoff of some Marvel characters. So this flip book has probably been done before, and I just didn't see it. And then I thought that it was an awesome original idea by this person who's never had an awesome original idea. So anyway, let's go ahead and start this issue. Again, on the inside, we have this insanely cool picture showcasing all of the superheroes on the Youngblood away team. We have Brahma, Riptide, Photon, Psi-Fire, Sentinel, and Cougar. Again, I thought Photon just looked awesome here, but I think everybody in this picture looks awesome. Like, again, this, we're nearing the peak Liefeld because it's the very next issue of this that I think he did his best with story and just everything, the artwork and all of that. I really liked. And then we got like Youngblood number three, which was like so far downhill from what we had with Youngblood number two. But anyway, let's move on. So we are getting a news report here about how the Saddam Hussein homage, pastiche, whatever, named Hassan Hussein, and that the Youngblood away team, I guess, will be taking care of that. At the very top panel here, we have the top two panels of the news reporter from SNN, and he looks like two different characters. Like, in the first panel, his forehead is much bigger than what we're getting in the second panel. In the third panel, we have helicopters. They're not the worst helicopters I've seen Liefeld draw, but for the life of me, I can't understand why he never draws the propellers spinning. And I always see that. Like, even in yesterday's review of Youngblood #1, there was a helicopter that just kind of looked like it was floating. It didn't look like it was flying. The helicopter blades are never spinning, showing that, like, the helicopter's flying. It's just, they're just kind of floating there and the propellers are still. So, I don't know. That's just weird to me. The bottom right-hand panel, the last panel, with the two helicopters behind a different reporter with the world's worst microphone. And again, I've said this before, like, fucking look at a microphone. Don't tell me you've never seen a microphone before, that you couldn't open up some sales catalog and see what a microphone looks like, or just find a picture anywhere of a microphone. I know that the internet wasn't very big at this time, so you couldn't just do a search, and see this to do a visual reference, but it's a microphone, okay? If I had to draw a microphone from memory right now, I could do better than whatever the hell that is on this guy, okay? And then, of course, we have the double-page spread of the Youngblood away team jumping out of a helicopter. I don't know why I have not done a... this is the Liefeld drinking game, okay? Whenever anybody jumps out of a helicopter, you do a shot, okay? But I should do like a scoreboard or something for every time Liefeld had any of the Youngblood away team jumping out of helicopters. But we have just way more than the Youngblood away team jumping out of helicopters. We also have these soldiers, tons of soldiers here. We have psi-fire down in the bottom left corner in different colors. So I don't know. There's always inconsistency, we know, with Rob Liefeld books. But I'm going to say this. It's kind of a shame because these helicopters, these are the same helicopters that we were seeing on page 1. But if you look closely, they're more defined. They have like weapons on them. There's much more detail. The propeller blades are still not spinning. So they're still just, I don't know, falling out of the sky or just floating or whatever. But they look a lot better. So again, if you go one page, you flip a page in a Liefeld book and everybody looks different. Everything looks different. It's very hard to determine if we're still on the same thing, if we're still looking at the same thing, because nothing ever looks the same. Now, of course, we can say that right here about combat, right? Everybody has pointed out how combat, number one, look how huge this bastard is for being in the background, okay? Doing some weird squat as he's falling, because, he doesn't really look like he was jumping out of a helicopter. He looks more like he was squatting to take a shit. His foot, there are 2 feet here for combat. One that's coming out from behind Sentinel. I don't know. It just looks weird because I just feel like Liefeld could have brought his leg down in a different angle so it just wouldn't, I don't know. It kind of looks like Sentinel has a tie on, a yellow tie that's kind of hanging down or whatever as he's flying. But we see here that, combat has, these shoulder blades. It's kind of like 2 shoulder blades because there's like something underneath the shoulder blade, but I don't think that was supposed to be gold. I think it was just supposed to be blue. He's wearing the helmet. He has this one big rifle here, and then we're going to see that, of course, all of that changes panel to panel. Hassan Hussein's soldiers down in the bottom right-hand corner, I don't know, they look weird, right? They don't look like they should be the soldiers for, somebody, I don't know. The colors and everything, it just doesn't seem like, I don't know, that it would work. They're saying something, and you have the brackets around there, I guess, stating that they're not speaking English, okay? But it says, God save us, what is the enemy sending now, okay? Aren't they just the enemy? I guess the enemy sending the enemy. Anyway, so again, here we have combat falling again. Now he has 2 different shoulder blades. The helicopters are a different color. The helicopters don't have the same weapons. They don't have the wings on the side. But the one consistency is that the propeller blades are not spinning. Those helicopters are just floating there. It's a very tiny helicopter, and we have another guy that apparently jumped out of the helicopter too. We have Youngblood crashing down on the enemy soldiers here, but we don't have the enemy soldiers or the soldiers that were jumping out of the helicopter with Youngblood away team. Like, we have that. There's one guy in the background, right? Okay, but there were tons of them that were falling down. So we're already reaching a point where things are gonna, change panel to panel here. Okay, and you can tell this because like we go up to the next panel here where Cougar is saying something, right? And he's like, "Combat, you'll find in briefings." Never do, which I guess was what the response to combats. Briefings didn't say there would be this many. Okay, now we see it's Sentinel here flying past him and knocking down a couple of soldiers, and then when we go down to the next one, we see Combat and Cougar. Okay, and there's a soldier like falling down behind them, and there's a soldier that got hit and is going. I'm thinking because if you looked at the previous page and then you look at this page, that the colorist, Brian Murray, got a little confused because Liefeld was doing the generic soldier technique that he usually does, where he just draws everybody in the same outfit. So the good guys that were jumping out with the away team looked like the bad guys. They were just different colors. So then Brian Murray wasn't sure what to color the soldiers when he would see them. So it just seems to me that this soldier that's behind Combat and Cougar, since they're not facing him, would have been a soldier that was on their side, but he was not colored correctly. And because we had so many of these green soldiers flying out of the helicopters, and now they just all seem to have disappeared. Now it's just Youngblood versus the bad guys. We see that Combat changed again. His arms are metallic when they weren't before. The shoulder blades are gone. He doesn't have shoulder blades anymore. I think Cougar launches himself. Now, I will say this. I do very much like this picture of Cougar. His face is weird, but this was good. Like, this is a good, angle that he was able to do with him, making him look like he jumps. The speed lines are pretty damn cool and everything. We know that's another Liefeld trope, but I actually like that, okay? I think this page looks pretty awesome, okay? Even though, again, even if we look at Combat underneath here, the shoulder blades are weird. They're not the same shoulder blades, and again, they appeared when they disappeared in the panel previous. So yeah, it's just wild. And then of course we have Combat looking completely different again. I got to tell you, I think when I first read this book, I thought there were several different Combats that they were all like Catellans or whatever that were just fighting with Youngblood because there were so many different versions of this thing. This is different shoulder blades again. It's or not shoulder blades, but shoulder pads. Okay, the shoulder armor, the arms, the legs, the gun that he's holding, the helmet is different. Next panel, we have a helicopter. This one again has a little more detail on it, but the blades aren't spinning, so it's just floating there. Okay, we're cutting to Brahma, Riptide, and psi-fire knocking out these generic soldiers. And again, we're not seeing any more of the green soldiers. They all disappeared. There were so many of them that were jumping out of helicopters. And I'm just going to assume that they all died almost immediately. Like, those were normal human beings. And they were jumping out of a helicopter without parachutes. I think they were literally just committing suicide right there. Like, that's what it is. I feel like I might have to put a disclaimer on the front of this video, because that was just like a mass suicide where all of these green soldiers jumped out of these helicopters, died, and then Youngblood away team had to handle everything on their own. So they are fighting the enemy as they come across this little shed, which I believe houses Hassan Hussein. And we're going to, that's basically all that's going on here is we have them go into this insanely little shed headquarters thing or whatever, taking out the enemy as they go. The artwork is pretty good. I like the artwork here. I have no notes. Everything looks pretty damn cool. This, like I said, we're reaching like peak Liefeld. He's doing things. It's action packed and everything. We're still getting backgrounds here, like he's drawing tanks. Riptide here is using her water power to have water spray up from underneath the ground that are lifting tanks into the air. Okay. Then they end up getting zapped by something right after Sentinel tells them to stay alert because this is the unknown varia. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Stay alert. This is the unknown varia. Variant, variation. What was he going to say? I don't know. That's weird to me. I had never picked that up before. Yeah, so it's weird. I don't know. But anyway, they end up getting zapped, which is a very cool image here. We got a lot of like Kirby crackle in the background here, showing that they were like electrified or whatever. Then on the bottom panel, we see that they are going to fight a giant robot. Okay. This is. Are they inside the building now? I'm assuming they're inside the building. I never saw where they went inside the building. I don't know. I'm looking back on the pages now. I'm not seeing it. They didn't say they entered it. There's no narration or anything. But we go inside where everybody got hit, and there are curtains flying. So I can only assume that these curtains, like, they're inside of the building now, possibly. I don't know. But there are like two giant robots and look like some more enemy soldiers there that I think psi-fire takes care of, even though it kind of happens off panel. And we have Cougar in combat fighting a robot as well. Now, I don't know. Is Cougar in combat, did they go into the house too? The lack of backgrounds tend to fuck all of this up. Like, you can't tell exactly what's happening. Combat and Cougar were fighting soldiers. And now they're kind of magically fighting robots right when psi-fire and Brahma and them are fighting robots. So, I don't know. You don't see Cougar in combat in the same pictures with psi-fire in them, so I don't think that they're in the same area. So it's very hard to tell. Like, I know they were all fighting in the same battle here, but it looked like Combat and Cougar went off, separately, while the rest of the team were doing something else. Well, anyway, Combat comes in, again, everything changing on his outfit, panel to panel. It's wild. It's crazy. Okay. He takes that robot out. And then, of course, we have a, pretty damn decent picture of him hanging over the robot that he just beat the hell out of with another outfit change. So I think he does more outfit changes than Cable did in X-Force. Cable was out there to change his outfit all the time. And then Combat was like, you know what? If I'm going to go back into battle again, I'm going to put my helmet on this time. I may have to find another robot, I guess. Now we cut back to psi-fire, who is here with Hassan Hussein. I guess that's what was going on. He was in front of Hassan Hussein there with these robots, even though if you look at those people from that page, they don't look anything like that. But we have him here in front of Hassan Hussein, who keeps begging please while psi-fire monologues at him. And then Hassan Hussein is like, money? You want money? I'll pay money. And I don't know. It looks like... So psi-fire uses his psychic ability to blow up the brains of the robots? The robots have brains? Is it telekinesis or telepathy? Is that what's going on with psi-fire? I feel like every time I've seen psi-fire, it has something to do with somebody's brain. I don't see him lifting other objects or anything. Like, he could have picked these robots up with his mind and threw them somewhere. But I'm getting the impression that, like, the thing he does is more of a telepathy thing. So, I don't know. He explodes the brains of the robots, because robots have brains, I guess. And then he blows up Hassan Hussein's head, where we get this... so that's another thing I didn't like. I said in the other one that, the way that Liefeld draws blood, it just looks like chunky strings or something. It doesn't look like liquid, okay? He just puts random lines there or whatever and says, okay, this is blood. But then Brian Murray goes behind him and tries to color the black ink just to add red to it, I guess, to clarify it more that it was blood, you know? He doesn't do like an ink spatter with a toothbrush or anything like that, or a card to give us what would look like, like a more realistic kind of blood spatter. We just get this weird, like red black yarn or something like that. Loop here. But he blew up Hassan Hussein's head. Apparently, he has, the bits of Hassan Hussein all over him and everything. And that's when Combat and Cougar come in. So apparently, Combat and Cougar were with these guys since they were the first to enter this room right after psi-fire. Or is it that they just got there right after? I don't know. So I guess maybe they were following along. I don't know. Again, with no backgrounds, it's very hard to tell. And this is a Liefeld book that has the most backgrounds. So my confusion's always, there. But they're like, he did it again. This guy's always exploding heads everywhere. And then, they're going on with this until, Sentinel comes in and he's like, oh, no, you didn't. Oh, you did. And he's like, I know they're trying to make this a wacky thing, but these are supposed to be like, again, these heroes, government heroes, superheroes that, this, I don't know. It just doesn't play right for what they're supposed to be. The fact that he did this thing that's supposed to be shocking, that he blew the head off of this guy or exploded it or whatever. And then everybody's kind of like, oh, that's gross. He did it again. And psi-fire's just sitting there like there's nothing wrong with it. Psi-fire is psychotic. And again, I think that's, we don't get that. So I never read Team Youngblood, which I guess focuses on the away team. And that's where psi-fire is. So I'm assuming that they ended up locking him up because I had to read like Youngblood number 5. And Youngblood number 5 is where psi-fire comes back in and takes out Darkthorn. Or at least gets him to run away. And I remember certain characters saying that, they'd rather have psi-fire locked up. They don't want to release him or something. Why was psi-fire even there if he was like, I don't know. I think he was wearing like a power dampener. Again, it's all confusing. Nothing was explained or anything, and that's what we're getting here. But then we have Sentinel saying, okay, we'll phone in the cleanup crew, and we're gone. And then we have a USA Today front page thing about how Hussein's terror ends in suicide, that he somehow exploded his own head. And I'm assuming that's what the Kerplash is at the very bottom here underneath. That was them making a joke about him exploding his own head. So that's it. That was Youngblood number 1, part 2. I mean, again, we're getting introductions to the characters, although we're not getting great introductions. Like, we're kind of seeing that they have a little bit of power. I guess in like psi-fire's case, we're seeing a little bit of characterization, that he's kind of the psychotic one. I guess each team gets one, because like on the home team, it would be Chapel. Because there's no way you could look at Chapel and say, okay, this guy's a hero. Okay. It's just not a thing. But anyway, that was Youngblood number 1. So I will be doing Youngblood number 2 very soon. If you guys like this video, please hit like. It helps my channel grow, and I'm a comic book artist trying to get his name out there. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit subscribe, because I tend to bring one out every day for the most part, even though I've been slipping up a little lately, starting work back up again and everything. I have to do some better time management. But again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.